Ding. And we're live.
Here we are.
Hi, hello.
Welcome to the still, after however many years now, the unofficially
Not named.
unnamed but official
Recap show.
after show.
Whatever you want to call it.
You know what? How about let's start off strong. Drop in the comments what you want the name to be. Maybe we'll pick one this year.
We probably won't.
I'm Sam,
I'm Kelsey.
and we're here to hang out with you for about an hour, maybe a little less. Who knows? It's night one. About what happened today. Want to get you all up to speed. If you couldn't watch the opening challenge and stuff that we had going on today, want to let you know what happened. How's your loved one doing? What are they dealing with tonight? But before we get into all the nitty gritty of everything that you're going to be hearing about, seeing this season, we want to know a little bit about how we got here. Like, how do we get to this point? Survival Challenge is a huge event. It takes so much manpower. Volunteers the day of, obviously the days, plural of, volunteers all throughout the year planning the event, and no one is more involved than the man, the myth, the legend, our host, John Batea. Woo,
Hey,
John!
hey.
John!
Thank you.
Woo.
I'm honored. This is my first time.
That's
No, it's
wild.
not. No, it's
I'm
not.
a first timer.
Oh my goodness.
I don't believe
Go
that,
back
but
and check it out.
I can't
probably
believe you let us done it this long without
I
featuring
don't think
you.
I
being
even
on. It's a
knew
shame.
about it like the first
you probably
year or
didn't.
something.
We snuck it in there.
I'm
We're
usually
like,
in bed by this time, so.
This is a good idea.
John knows so much that sometimes it's just better off to,
Just,
let him sleep at night
fair.
because you do a lot.
I don't need to know a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just better when I don't.
So John, how do we have our 25 contestants this season,
yeah.
which is
Interesting
drama.
number. Never had 25 before.
I love that. I'm very excited to see what they think about that. I don't
Any
know if you have any
guesses?
insider
What are we
scoop.
doing with 25 contestants?
Drop it in the comments. Will, if we get any guesses, read them out. Will is our behind the camera bestie. Will, flip the camera around, show yourself.
Oh, I didn't set that up
Oh,
yet.
okay, just kidding. Never mind.
Never
Don't do
mind.
that.
Okay.
Next time.
Anyways, John, how did we get here? What did the casting process look like for this season?
Yeah.
How did we get these 25 people?
It's a big thing because we really believe in having a diverse cast. And diverse means a lot of things, right? It's not just gender, it's not just race, it's not just age. Like, it's all of those things. And for us, we don't want a lot of connections
Yeah.
for people, especially if they played in the same LRG.
Mm-hmm.
So this cast has very few.
That's exciting.
It's probably our least connected cast
Love that.
since like the very beginning of time. And it makes the process a lot harder to try to get all of
Absolutely.
those people vetted out. And good thing we have people like you who know like everybody who's ever played any game. Yeah, and then we got to see, does it fit? You know, do you have enough of everything you're looking for? And then does it fit the theme?
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a theme like heroes, hustlers, or things like that, but there's twists and things that are going to happen where we need the right mix of contestants to make it really work. So 4 people casting.
Yeah.
We all go through and do our initial evals, and then we rank everybody. And if we have consensus, they're in. If not, we go start exactly on time and end exactly on time. And we're not going to have it, like my first line is literally, I wish we could have time for pleasantries, but we're going to get right into it.
Yeah.
And like, I'll ask them like, in your video, you said this and that didn't make any sense at all. What did you mean? Like, that's like 30 seconds into the interview.
Okay.
And we're watching for, how do you handle that? Because that's what you're going to run into in the
Yeah.
game at some point, right? Someone's going to
Absolutely.
get in your face.
So fast paced.
And you're going to need to be able to
Like
answer.
quick, yeah,
Right.
and answer well.
So yeah, you can write down anything like, I'm great at lying, you know, like,
But actually proving you're great, like you say in the interview, tell me a lie, and you're like, oh, what
Right.
lie could I tell you?
and
Yeah.
if you go into that
Stress.
interview as one of the casting people who had some questions about them, you're specifically asking questions like, I need to hear how they're going to do with this
Yeah.
question. And A lot of times we'll get off of that 15 minutes and we'll just look at each other on Zoom and it's just like,
Yeah.
like we don't have to go any farther, or the
Yeah.
other way
Or, yeah.
around, you know?
I think that's so interesting too, because again, you can be someone in a polished video because you're like, this is how I want to play. But then when you're being confronted with those types of questions to your face, it's like you fall back on your natural tendencies. So if you're trying to play really villainous or cutthroat and tough, but then you fall back and say, oh, well, if my ally wanted to do that, you know, like when you're being pressed pressed up against the wall, it's like, oh, are you going to play the same way that you said you were going to in your initial video? Because now if you can't decide, it's like, what, you obviously don't have intention coming to the game, or probably not going to keep you, you know?
And we can push in a little harder. Like the question could be like, what would be your strategy when you hit the field with 20 some other super fans?
Yeah.
And they could say, and the legitimate answer is, I have to be flexible.
Yeah.
And so we might ask them like, okay, the 4 of us and you are the tribe. What do you say to us?
Yeah.
Like, so now it's time to
love
role
that.
play. Like, because the strategy is vague, and that's fine, but now
Yeah.
we want you to make it real.
Yeah.
Show us what you're
Yeah.
going to do.
A tip for future applicants: don't tell us how you're going to play the game. Show us how you're going to play the game.
Right there.
That's the key. Everybody's like, how do you get on SC? How do you get on SC? It is a very competitive live game to get on, and we're proud of that.
That's right.
And the people that make it on are the people that can show through their video or through their interview how they would be out here.
Yeah, there's a couple different videos out there where we talk about casting.
Yeah.
So start there. Don't
Find
make
'em.
the obvious mistakes that we've already warned you about.
Yeah.
But the international
I
connection this year.
Can't.
Yes.
Literally, people are coming from other countries to play this game. That's how good it is. We are the best. I'm
Yeah,
going to
so
say it.
you're
We're the
going to
best.
see 3 international contestants
Really? I
this
didn't even
cast,
know that.
and I'll tell you, there were 6 or 7 more applicants
I didn't
aren't-
know that.
who are not out here, all from other countries. And we
That's
make no intentional efforts
insane. To branch out.
And
that
if you
far.
know where we are, like we are Macomb, Illinois, surrounded by corn.
Nowhere.
Not an airport.
Yeah,
Like
if you swung that
anywhere
camera
close.
around, all you would see is corn.
corn everywhere.
Like the people that want to be here, they want to be here, and that's why I think we love it so much, right? Like they have to have the passion in order to even just get here. So when they finally get here, I feel like they're so amped and ready to go, and they're ready to like exude all that passion. And it was kind of interesting because like we didn't have one of those, hey, go run, like kind of like starts like we have in the past. It was
Yeah.
kind of more of a relax, like let them vibe it out. So was there anything that you feel like you kind of noticed in that time period? And I know you weren't along the trails, but
Right.
once you kind of saw people, what were your thoughts on them, like seeing them in person versus some of the casting?
I could tell you this, they're coming in more and more prepared every
Okay.
year.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're talking about like everybody's watched every second of video that exists out there. They've listened to
That's-
every podcast, and you can tell like they're actually reading notes and paying attention to what they say.
Good
Like
for them.
today's opening note said, "Take your time and be observant." And we were watching them walk through the field, and it looked like they were in slow motion because they were looking at.
Yeah, I had to be out there for a really
everything.
long time. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, come
Every
on.
rock left like nothing was left unturned. Like every blade of grass carefully inspected.
But
Which is great.
And a big but, there was something that they could find out there
Yes.
that if they found it, it would have helped them out in that first intro challenge. And from what I've heard, I think a lot of people missed it.
Yeah, seemed like about half and
Devastating.
half.
No way.
Yeah.
It did seem like when I just saw the contestants walking in for that first challenge, which ended up being, we'll get to it in a little bit here, we'll go through the whole day. It was like a name and state recognition, or country for that matter, recognition challenge. It did seem like a lot of them were like kind of looking around and like trying to remember people's names really intentionally. And I was like, oh, some people definitely knew what was going on. Like I could see them kind of like looking at each other and memorizing names.
And even if you didn't find the clue, when you got to Deer Crossing in the One World, there was a note there. It was cryptic,
Yeah.
but it was basically say, do you know these people?
Yeah.
People have come from near and far. It was kind of pointing you in that direction. And then it said, do what you can. You don't have anything else there, so what can
Yeah.
you do, right? Get to know one another. And those are the little details that I'm talking about where I think more people are prepared now.
Yeah.
In years gone by, it would have been like, oh, there's a note there, whatever.
Okay, cool.
We'll wait
Let's
for production to
hang
tell
out.
us what
Yeah.
to do next.
I
you
also
know?
love a challenge that has nothing to do with like physical ability, puzzle ability. It truly was how well did you form relationships in the beginning of this game?
Social challenge.
Did you walk with people during your walk, take advantage of talking to them when you were at the One World situation? Like, how well did you mingle? And, it's not, sometimes it's breadth versus depth, like not just talking to everybody and forgetting everything, but maybe honing in on, a couple of people that you were able to remember and help you do well in that challenge. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see what those connections are and like how much of a lasting impact they have.
Yeah.
And before you get to the specifics of the challenges,
Yeah.
the overall theme for today, we started with everybody in one spot.
Yeah.
And as the challenges played out, the bottom group was suddenly disappearing from the field.
And in the first one, we literally
It was-
blindfolded everyone, so they actually
Literally,
physically disappeared.
Yeah.
The
Everything
group
was
that was
quiet.
left took off their blindfolds, and there were 6 people gone.
Kidnapped.
And they had no idea
To the
that
night.
even happened.
That's so
And then
funny.
6 more people walk up the path, but they don't come back. So not only are they trying to figure out who are these people, but where did they just go?
And why did they get taken? Did
Was
they
that a good thing?
Right.
Yeah.
Or that a bad thing?
Yeah.
It just, oh my god, such chaos. Before we get into all the nitty gritty and everything, so we can get you out of here, John, what do we have to look forward to tomorrow? Can you give us a sneak peek? A little
Yeah,
hint?
so right now we've got 7 camps out there. We've never had 7
So
camps
many.
on opening night. So there's all sorts of different configurations. There's as few as 3 people at several
gosh.
camps, as many as 5. Is that good or bad?
Who knows?
Who knows, right? So tomorrow morning when they all come out, what happens? Like, there's going to be something that happens to bring them all together.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the first thing that happens
In the morning.
tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
So
9 a.m.
we're
bright
going
and
to
early.
see how strong some of those initial bonds were for the
Hmm.
first night. Maybe, because maybe you can't necessarily be with those folks.
Yeah.
But we'll find all that out tomorrow morning. So
Interesting. Thank
Yeah.
you for the
So
little
cheeky.
cliffhanger.
Yeah, I
Okay,
love that.
John.
yeah. So
Thank you for joining us.
that
We
was
appreciate
great.
you
I
very
hope
much.
you have me back sometime.
Maybe, I don't know. It's a pretty high
Maybe a
profile
couple more
list, so we'll
seasons.
see. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Appreciate you. Bye, John. Have a good night.
Woo.
Just wanted to quickly give a shout out. Norma Thurber says hi, everyone.
Hi. I'm gonna scoot your
Yeah.
body towards you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Let's get cozy.
Jean Marine Rich also said, just want to say the quality in video, the sound of this year is incredible.
Yes.
No,
yes.
we do
yes.
it for you. So, and honestly, that's all Will. Like, do we
Yeah.
have any idea what's going on
No.
technology-wise? No, we just love to yap. Will is the one
Professional
that,
yappers.
no, exactly. Will is the one that sets us all up, sets us up for success. So,
Yes.
snaps for Will.
Snaps to Will. Yeah, that's actually the new after show name, Professional Yappers at Night. So that's us. But we're gonna get into it. As you can tell, it's getting dark. We need to get through some stuff. Tell you about a little bit. We did start a little bit late because it's been a long day.
Yeah.
So first things first. Let's go through the day, and as we go through the day, we'll talk about all the different challenges that happened and highlight some of the things we saw from each contestant during those challenges. A couple of things before we kind of get started with going through all of this. I know that you probably saw the live stream graphic to get to this point and know there was an after show. So the style of the after show is very commentary based. So it's things that we saw on the live streams during the day, or things that you could see as if you were at home, and it's us just commenting on those things. So you saw me today if you were watching the live streams because I'm in front of the camera a lot of the time, or I'm the voice you hear rather behind the camera a lot of times this season. Kelsey is a field producer on the other hand, so she was back in the camps with the players and has a little bit of a behind the scenes scoop. Is she able to tell us those things a lot of the time? Maybe. We have to be really careful about the things we say because, as many of you know, we have a live audience that joins us at Survival Challenge every single day. That live audience could then, accidentally tell someone in the game, loose lips, sink ship, something like that. We got to be pretty tight-lipped about some of the things happening during the game. Thank you for the light, Will. So all that to be said, 2 things to know. We can only tell you so much. So if you're trying to know who has idols, who has advantages, what the twists are going to be, what number they're merging at, you're not going to find that here. Eventually, when we make episodes of this season, you'll be able to find all that out. The second thing is, this is going to be commentary based. We're going to say strengths, we're going to say weaknesses, we're going to review and analyze the gameplay being held because we want to give you as much commentary as possible, as much content as possible about how your loved one is doing. If that's not something you're interested in, and you don't want to know that your daughter is bad at holding metal bars together, that's okay. I totally understand that. So what you can do instead is on that on that graphic that we shared earlier today, there is a daily recap document. I'm also going to have Will eventually pin it in the comments to this video so you can find it there. He gave me a thumbs up. He knows what he's doing. That document has like the bare bones, what the challenge was, who won, who lost. So you can see all of, like, basically all the events of the day just in that document if you don't want to listen to these two yappers for about an hour. And that's your business. You can do whatever you want. There's no wrong way to engage with survival challenge content. We just want to make sure you can engage the way you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's like a big focus on like cast good people to play this game, right? So we are all aware that the cast and absolutely the crew are full of amazing, wonderful people.
Yes.
And Survivor is obviously a subjective thing, but we will be kind of saying at least our opinions on what we think are good or bad moves occasionally. So your loved one can be a wonderful person, but maybe yelling at somebody during a challenge isn't a great thing to do for their game. So we might comment on that, but that's not a reflection on how we feel. They're great people and we love all of them.
Yeah.
I just pinned the thing in the comments. It is bit.ly/survivalchallenge11.
bit.ly/survivalchallenge11 if you want to follow along with us as we review it from our phones. All right, so let's get started so it's not pitch black. So basically, the contestants got here to start the day. They went through paths in the woods all over the property. The Survival Challenge property is freaking huge. It's giant. Kelsey's
so
been
massive.
walking miles today all over the property. What's your step count? A lot.
A lot. One of the players actually asked me on the way, like, how many acres? And I'm like, first of all, of course, I do not know how many acres this is, but, well, if you ask me a question in general and it's like it's number based, I'm probably not going to know.
That's fine.
But we did an amazing race mini yesterday where we walked a lot, and I'm already like easily double that. So
Yeah, just a lot of acres is the point. So they were walking all over. They eventually met up. They faced like a one world scenario. So all of them could get to know each other, as John alluded to. They had to figure out where everybody was from, what people's names were, and take an opportunity to get to know each other during that time. Eventually then they came to our main challenge field, and we had our first challenge where all the contestants were in a circle. They had a specific square that was theirs, and they were tasked with 90 seconds to make a list of the name and location or hometown or, residence area of each of the other players. And they just had to name the state or the country they were from. So big difference between Ohio and Australia. But, those were their options. So they were going to write down as many as they could. They were given the option to leave their square and talk to other people about where they were from if they wanted to go ask. But I was really surprised to see pretty much no one do that during the challenge.
I don't think anyone did. I actually, when I saw that nobody did, I was like, wait, did I hear that wrong? And they're actually not allowed to? But I don't know. I think it's hard to be like that first one that does it because you're worried that, I feel like the Survivor is such like that spotlight effect of you're just so worried any one thing that you do is going to make you stand out and be the reason that you're the target.
That's so true.
So we didn't see anybody moving around.
We did, though,
did.
see a lot of people, not that,
Oh, okay.
but we did see a lot of people like leaning next to each other and like kind of whispering to the person next to them. I saw a lot of people doing that, maybe confirming states or countries people were from or name spellings, whatever. So I did see some of that.
Okay, and on that journey that they made to the One World Camp, they had the opportunity to pass by a little clue that would have helped them out a little bit. Quite a few people missed it entirely. I know some people found it, but the interesting thing here, I can tell you, is at least one person, and I'm assuming more than one, found the clue, but didn't take time to read it before the challenge, and instead opened it at the end of the night during their confessional.
Shut up.
No.
I
know.
Oh, that's devastating
It
for
is,
them.
because every single action that you have in this game is consequences, right?
Yeah.
Like potentially if they would have opened the note, people would have saw them reading the note and thinking, oh,
They
like
have an
they
advantage.
found an idol clue or something of that
Yeah.
nature. So they wanted to take the time to open it in private, but because they waited, it ended up being a negative
Yeah.
thing because it would have helped them in the challenge.
Oh, that makes me sad for them.
I
Whoever
know.
that happened to, that does make
So
me
just
sad
like
for
the
them.
clue that they got, if you guys haven't been clued into it or not, it was basically, you know me, I'm here for the puns, okay? It gave them like a couple names and where the people were from, and so maybe it was just at random, so maybe those were people that they hadn't interacted with, but they were told,
So a head
hey,
start.
yeah, like an example, Sally Australia.
I was gonna say, I don't know where anyone.
I don't know. I thought about doing like an accurate one, but and they were told, hey, remember this. This will be useful. So
Yeah.
it really would have come in handy, but
That's huge.
Yeah.
Oh, devastating. So, we talked about it earlier. They all got blindfolded after the challenge. They were terrified. They had no idea what was happening. I remember Nick, our one of our contestants, was genuinely scared when Travis went to pull him from the circle after the challenge because he was one of our lowest scoring friends. But they had no idea where they were going. They were being blindfoldedly walked across the field.
and kind of valid. You
Oh,
show
fair.
up
Oh, absolutely fair.
in the middle of nowhere. Some people might be like have connections to people here on cast or crew, know people have played before, but for some people they are showing up in the middle of nowhere, trusting these strangers, and then we blindfold them and take
Blindfold
them
them
out
into
to the
the
woods.
woods. Yes.
Kind of valid. But yeah, do we want to talk about the people who were blindfolded?
Let's do that. So everyone was blindfolded, but our friends who were removed from the circle were those who scored the lowest in the first challenge. And those 6 people were Amelia, Luke M, Kyle, Nick, Owen, and Kat. So those 6 people were then moved, and the remaining 19 contestants have no idea where they went. They take their blindfolds off, and 6 people are magically gone. So you could see some people like pointing around like, where did they go? But those 6 people, we haven't really revealed the full extent of this yet, were removed to a side challenge. And all of these side challenges are going to determine which camps they were placed at the end of the night. So John said we had 7 camps at the end of the night. We had 3 side challenges. The winners of the side challenge and the losers of the side challenge went to separate camps. And then our final victors at the end of the night that you saw in the last challenge of the day were the ones that remained at the 7th and final camp. So we'll go into just what those side challenges were quickly so you can know a little bit about your loved one, what they were up to, and how we think they're doing so far.
Yeah. So I know that's a lot, but think about it this way. It's kind of like a bracket. So I take the first 6 losers, and I was actually in charge of the first one, so that'll be really easy. Well, hopefully. I don't know. That
Do you
feels
remember
like
what you
forever
did?
ago. But yeah, we shuffled them off, and it was so funny. They're taking such ginger steps towards them, and it's like, come on, guys, I got you. Like, I'm not gonna run you
We're on a
into a tree.
schedule. Let's go.
But yeah, we get them far enough away, remove their blindfolds, and it's interesting. They don't know why that they're pulled. They don't know if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing. But of course we can't tell them, and we take them through their little challenge. What they have to do is they have to retrieve some rings by tying 3 bamboo sticks together with some twine. Once they retrieve the ring from the post, they then have to try to make the ring back on the post, and then retrieve it once more and make it once more. Everybody did great. Kyle did perform exceptionally well.
Nice.
I thought he finished a good amount in front of the rest of the people. Everybody seemed to really be in the mix for that one. Nick, Owen, they both had gotten their first ring really early, but then were struggling on that next one. And Luke did really well. He was the second person to finish. That's Luke M. And what was really interesting is Amelia really was struggling off the bat. Took quite a long time to get that first ring. So it was looking like it was either going to be Owen or Nick for that final spot. And Amelia finally retrieves that second ring. First toss, nails it on the nail, and
Stop it. I'm gonna throw you in the pond
I
behind
don't
us
even
with these
plan these
puns.
things. I'm sorry. So yeah, our winners from that little side challenge were, to recap, Kyle, Luke M, and Amelia.
Yep.
And basically that meant you're the winners of the losers, right? So
Lost the first main challenge, won their side challenge.
yeah. So then we kind of split off the loserest of the losers.
Which was Nick, Owen, and Kat. So they were the ones that lost that main name game challenge and then lost the bamboo pole challenge.
Yeah. So because of that, they have the farthest away camp, little to no supplies at all. I mean, they're given.
Luckily, they can enter the game with a blanket. We did allow them to do that this year. Sometimes depending on whether we take the blankets away, but just because of the lows at night, we did allow them to come in with a blanket, and they have jackets and stuff.
Yeah.
But they basically have nothing at their camp
Yeah,
at all.
they have
They're staring at each
water,
other.
no good access to a porta potty, so they have some wood chips to help
And
cover
toilet
up
paper.
their business.
But it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, it's
for the
gonna be
3 of
bleak.
them. Yeah.
And, the winners of the losers don't have it a ton better. they were given 2 blankets and of course like water, and then the same bathroom situation. So not a ton better, but it's interesting with those groups. It's just 3 of them at each.
Yeah.
And I think that could be really a blessing and a curse. You know, you don't get to connect with as many people as some of the other people do, but those night 1 groups, I feel like
Are
they're always
huge.
so important. It's always like you just bond with them,
Yeah.
right? You're spending all night with them.
And
I
these
think-
people without a porta potty, they're trauma bonding tonight.
No, literally. And with it only being 3, you have to think it's so much easier to build stronger relationships with a smaller group than it is
Yeah.
a bigger group. So I'll be really interested to see how far these 2 groups of 3 like last
Go.
together.
Yeah, last, and especially with their relationships, actually, do they stick together, or do they instantly say, like, that was the most miserable night of my life, I want to forget it, I
True.
don't care about these people at all? Because I think they can assume, right, you can pretty safely assume a group of 3 is not going to be your first official tribe that you're in. Like, yeah, you may have spent the night with these people, but, I mean, we don't have the capacity, we don't have the space to be running challenges of groups of 3. So we'll see if they decide in their own minds, like, oh, are we going to get paired up with someone tomorrow? Are we going to split up tomorrow? There's going to be a lot of those conversations happening tonight at their camps.
Absolutely.
So that was our first side challenge. I think other highlights, I did hear that Amelia made that, like, underdog comeback. And Amelia she's teeny tiny. And so I think that people are really going to underestimate her in general in this game, especially if they don't know her coming in. Whereas with some of the men I think in that group, they come off as a more like physically dominant group. I think I'm interested to know if like Kyle really bodying that challenge will be a good thing or a bad thing. Because like remembering people's names is one thing, but doing like a physical kind of challenge where you're throwing something, you're building something is I think a different story.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm curious.
Yeah, Kat specifically, she did struggle just with like she couldn't get the bamboo figured out, so I
Yeah.
don't think she actually ever was able to land a ring. And I'm specifically feeling for Kat and Amelia because they're both, stuck at camps tonight with 2 dudes, which
with 2 boys.
I wouldn't love,
Gross.
but I'm sure they'll make the best of it.
They'll be strong. Alrighty, but that was our first side challenge. Moving on to main challenge number 2. So our remaining 19 contestants are all here. They are given a new sheet of paper, and they are told to answer a bunch of questions about Survival Challenge and its history. So hopefully, as John said, our players studied up and they knew a lot of things about what SC is, its history, people who have played, all that good stuff. So they'd answer all the questions. There were 10 questions on their paper. If they didn't know the answer, they could run around the pond to go and review a correct answer that was hidden like under a box or something. And then they could come back, but they could only check one answer at a time when they ran around the pond. For this one, we saw a lot of players teaming up. A lot of players were saying, I'll look in box number 1 if you look in box number 2, so that we can all, compile our answers. So we saw a lot of teaming up here. I saw specifically Ollie and Kelsey teaming up in this challenge. And I think it was Jay and Elisa teaming up in this challenge as well. Don't quote me on that one. They were further around the circle than I was. But we saw a lot of people working together to communicate. I think there was even a big of a group of 5 people working together if they were all on the same board, because there were 3 boards that they could read the questions on. However, it was very interesting.
I missed this one, so I'm a
yeah,
viewer right now.
You're gonna lose it.
Shut up.
Okay, so for this one, it was very interesting, right? All these people trying so hard to answer all these questions, and we go, and at the very end of the challenge, they had I think 5 minutes to do this. They were supposed to, when they had all 10 questions answered, line up in a line, and that was going to be the tiebreaker of if Kelsey and I both got 5 questions right, whoever lined up first would be declared the winner between us, right?
Interesting.
So most people lined up with about 30 seconds left or so. There were a few stragglers who lined up after the full 5 minutes were done. But I'm going to say maybe 3 or 4 times before this challenge started, John said, don't forget to put your name on the paper. Because we collect all the papers, there's no way for us to know whose is whose unless you write your name on it, right? To score them. Guess what 6 people forgot to do? 6.
Out of how many?
19. So every single person that lost that challenge was someone who forgot to put their name on the paper, who got knocked. So it didn't matter if you got all 10 questions right, you forgot to put your name on the paper.
And unfortunately serves them right.
Yeah.
Come on.
Listen to the rules, besties. Come on.
I don't know. I remember that being a thing in driver's ed. Like, people wouldn't put their name on their paper. And I genuinely know somebody that didn't pass driver's ed because not putting their name on the
It's just
paper.
basics.
Like, come on.
That
Like,
when
yeah.
I used to
Attention to the
teach.
detail.
Yeah, and that was my biggest pet peeve is when kids didn't put their name on the papers. I did not instantly fail them because I did feel too bad, but I could have. 5th grade's tough.
Yeah.
So.
And these people are a lot older than me.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, our 6 friends who did not put their name on the paper were Ryan, Leah, Luke R, Ned, Kelsey, and Declan. And I will say, one thing that I heard from some of my friends as Declan entered the side challenge is that they were not happy about they threw their bag down a little bit. They had a little moment about being mad that they didn't put their name on their paper. I don't know if it was an internal madness or like we should have had a line for our name to go on kind of thing. I don't know if it was accusatory or I can't believe I did that. But I'm based on hearing that, and Taylor gave me that inside scoop because she went and checked out all the side challenges.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit worried. Like, Survival Challenge is not a game where you can be having a little moment like that. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched last season of Survivor, Liz throwing her tantrum at Q over Applebee's. I don't know if Declan's was that bad, but like that moment, like showing that kind of temper and having that kind of emotion can really make people think, oh, if they're a loose cannon, I don't know if I can work with them. So I don't know how big it was. I wasn't there, but that moment could be.
And like you said, you don't know if it was like internal, external. I think that can be a big difference maker.
Absolutely.
To me, as if I were interacting with them, if I see somebody kind of blaming things on the production of it all or trying to be like, oh, that's not fair, I'm going to be a little bit more like to that person versus if I feel like they're frustrated within themselves.
Yeah.
That's a little bit like, not like better per se, but like, oh, okay, like they're upset with themselves.
And they're trying really hard. They're really invested in the game. It's a very different read.
But it's hard out here. You know, there's basically hardly any privacy whatsoever. So, like, when you have those moments, you have them. They're hard to control, and they can really be impactful for the better and for the worse. You know, I think people that are okay being vulnerable can absolutely be at times a weakness, but other times it can be a strength. So I'll be really interested to see how they kind of
maybe come back from that.
Yeah.
So our second side challenge was that those 6 people that I named previously, which I will say their names again, Ryan, Leah, Luke R, Ned, Kelsey, and Declan, all went to another area of the property, and they were all given a wooden box. Then they had to race across 2 different paths to pick a bag of dominoes up, and they used those bag of dominoes to create an 8-level domino tower on their wooden box. So word on the street, I again was on the main challenge with all of you. Kelsey was not at this one because she was doing the other one. But word on the street is that Ned, Kelsey, and Declan all could not find the dominoes to begin with. They ran past them, maybe a little bit, a little too excited. Yeah, doing a little too much, maybe. I don't know. But they ran past the dominoes, couldn't find them, and so they gave Ryan, Leah, and Luke R a huge head start, to which all of them capitalized on. So we saw Ryan, Leah, and Luke R winning that side challenge, with Ned, Kelsey, and Declan losing that side challenge. And from what I understand, it wasn't super close. There's a big, quite a few minute head start in that tower, and really those dominoes, if you get in a good rhythm with them, you find the right structure, it's not super hard to stack them on just a flat surface. If you're holding the platform or something, a lot more difficult. So definitely, I'm sure the race came heavily into effect for that one.
I think what's interesting too here is does it even matter if you win or lose? Yes, it matters somewhat considering, okay, the camps have differing levels of kind of comfortability, but to me it's almost more important to be with the people that you need to be with. And clearly they're not told, they were not told what they were competing for, so they didn't know, the winners were going here and the losers were going here. But I think what awesome is even if you ended up being a loser tonight, is that as long as you can bond with the people that you're with, it doesn't matter. Everybody starts off on a clean slate tomorrow, and it is really just all about the relationships that you were able to form tonight.
Absolutely. So we left those friends off to their camps, and then challenge number 3 on the main field started, and that was the ladder scramble. Our remaining 13 contestants for this challenge. Basically, if you've ever seen the staircase puzzle that we have at Survival Challenge, we use that puzzle on an individual basis. So our players they had 2 piles of puzzle pieces, one close and one far to the staircase, and they had to choose puzzle pieces essentially at random. They were all color-coded to the specific staircase they went to. but they had to choose them at random from either of the piles and try and fit them into one of the steps in their color-coded staircase. Every time they correctly fitted a puzzle piece, they were allowed to take coins that were resting on that puzzle piece's space and put them in like an individual pouch. At the end of the round, or at the end of them, when all of the puzzle pieces were placed, then whoever had the most puzzle pieces basically got to move on to the next challenge. Interestingly though, something that you could do is when a staircase was completed, if you were the last person to place this puzzle piece in the staircase, you could then ascend the staircase and get a bonus 3 coins at the top of the staircase. But this was only true for the first 3 of 4 staircases completed. So if you're harboring the last piece to the last staircase, you never even get to place it because once the first 3 were completed, you're done, which is what we saw happen. This one was drama. This was a drama challenge. First and foremost, because Kaylee bodied it. I'm going to say that right now out in the open. She was so strategic. She hid the final piece to, I think it was like the red staircase or the blue staircase, behind her back so no one knew she had it. And they all look around confused because they're like, oh, where's the last piece? She takes it out, places it, gets to get the bonus 3 coins. Ooh, it was so good. I was like, you did that. She did that, and she did it intentionally too. You could tell she knew what she was doing.
So I walked up on this one a little bit late from the side challenge. Did people see her do it?
No, they didn't know.
Okay, interesting. Because I was thinking like, oh, amazing. Like, love that from a viewer perspective. But from a game perspective, if I was one of the other players and I saw her like whip it out and do it, I'm thinking, want her gone immediately.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think she was clocked on it.
Okay,
I don't.
amazing play, but it is a little bit risky because you don't want to like show your cards that like, hey, I'm smarter than you.
Yes.
You know? But
Hey,
love
watch
that
out for
her.
me though.
Yeah, love that for her.
Yeah, and then the other drama we saw in this challenge was that we were starting to dwindle down pieces, right? Like, they're all fighting over placing the pieces correctly, right? As one does. It's a very small space. There's 13 of them.
Yeah.
We get it. And so they're all working at it. But then we're dwindling in pieces. It's very clear that either the yellow or I think the red staircase is going to be the last one completed. And players were kind of like trying to line up because they all wanted to be the last person to place the piece. So they were all kind of like waiting back a little bit. And we had 1 puzzle piece left for the yellow staircase. And Nicole and Griffin both go for it at the same time. And I mean,
Full on dive.
mad sprint, baseball slide into it, wrenching it back and forth between them. I was astounded. That they did that, honestly.
Right. To see them have that much fight just for like one of these like intro challenges was so cool. And like that, like, again, speaks to the passion that these players have.
Yes.
And I loved Nicole's fight there because she could have easily just thought, okay, like he might be able to beat me there in a sprint or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought she might just give up, but no, she said
She
she saw him
went
going
for
and she like started going that much
Instant.
harder. And he didn't, I mean, it was so close. Like,
It was.
He barely got it from her. And so that was just like a very cool moment to witness.
Absolutely.
And there's gonna be a little tea on that later.
I was gonna say, I'm curious to know if that's gonna be like I can't believe, like, one from other players, like, oh, they both went for that so hard. Is that something I need to be worried about, or is that someone I want on my side?
Yeah.
But also them towards each other, like, oh, he ripped that piece out of my hand, or oh, she tried to steal that piece from me, right? Like, what narrative are they going to create around that moment? Because then afterwards, that was like, they never even got to place that piece, I don't think. It was like the last piece to the remaining yellow puzzle. I don't think either of them got to place it, so it was just sitting on the stair. Nothing happened with it. So it was like almost worthless that they had this fight over it, because it was like, what was it for?
Right.
So I'm curious to know, now, is it going to create bad blood between them just because of that moment, or is it going to be something like, oh, haha, we had that moment and now we're fine? Let's see if I don't think they even ended up at the same, they didn't. Yeah, nope, they ended up at different camps, so they won't even be able to talk about it. So maybe that might do something else. So with this one, our 8 players that were escorted who had the lowest number of coins were Griffin, Dan, Val, Lee, KP, Nicole, Aaron, and Chris were escorted elsewhere. So side challenge number 3, do you want to go over side challenge number 3 with what was happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So that one, we had Baltazar leading the way with that. It was like a really fun twist that was like combining a couple classic survival
Absolutely.
like survivor challenges. So they have this little
Disc?
platter disc, amazing.
I like platter personally, but
you know,
it's good.
a round shape, and they have to keep the ball on the shape. Classic survivor. If the ball fell off their platter, you lose. And while they were doing it, they were moving clockwise around this like little circle, and basically the goal is keep the ball on the platter and touch the person in front of you to eliminate them or pass them. Either way worked. And the last person left standing won. And then it also like was several heats.
Yeah.
So basically you took the winner from the first one, they were escorted off. And then the winner from the second group escorted off, and you kind of kept going until we got 4 winners and 4 losers. And it was very impressive to see some people compete in that one.
It's basically like, if you're familiar with those classic Survivor challenges, it's like Hot Pursuit meets Idle Hands, essentially.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're like racing around. We watched the first one on the live stream before we headed to the final challenge of the day, and KP and Griffin were sprinting around that circle. They were running full stop, and that ball was just like centered for both of them. I was genuinely astounded by how well they did that challenge, because I could never. I could simply never.
I
It
wonder
was
if either
so
of them
good.
are servers.
That's a great question.
I don't know.
We'll
But
look that up.
It is interesting because it's like, how much do you try to go really fast and get the person in front of you, or how much do you try to go like steady to balance that ball? I think we definitely saw it was a good even mix of people that got eliminated because they got passed, and a good even mix of people that got eliminated because they lost control of their ball.
Yeah.
I would say the person that I was super impressed by during this challenge was Lee. She
Yeah.
very fittingly has like the shirt that says like
Age is no excuse. Yeah.
And she absolutely displayed that by her performance in this challenge. She was like, again, sprinting. It didn't even actually look like she was sprinting. It looked like she was more so gliding, and that it actually wasn't maximal effort for her, and she was still able to like get everybody out pretty easily. So I was very impressed by that performance.
I think one thing I really liked in this challenge too is in that first heat that we watched on the live, Griffin and KP like outlasted everyone else in their heat by quite a long time. Like I was like walking backwards with the camera watching them run around the circle. But then it wasn't KP. Griffin won the first heat, but then it wasn't KP that won the second heat. It was Dan. And Dan, I remember, was eliminated from the first heat because he dropped his ball and lost its balance. So I wonder if that was like a wake-up call to him to kind of fix his strategy of like, maybe don't worry so much about the person behind me, worry about, you know, holding my ball. So I think that was the really nice thing about this challenge, is that you had almost a learning curve of the first heat to fix your strategy in the second one. So I think that that was one thing that Dan probably really capitalized on, to be able to come back, since KP was clearly also very good at the challenge.
Right.
So,
but also ended up being in the losing group for that one.
Yeah.
So the winners were Griffin, Dan, Val, and Lee.
Yeah.
And the losers ended up being KP, Nicole, Aaron, and Chris.
Yeah.
Want to talk about that at all?
I mean,
I
one
did
thing.
confessionals with one of these groups.
Oh, okay.
The losing group. So
Oh,
if you want to
okay.
talk about the winners, that would be great.
Okay. Besides, we talked about Griffin, Dan. I honestly didn't see a ton from Val today. I also just was around.
It's
so
hard. There's so many places.
yeah.
Like, since there's 7 different groups, being at all different camps and all these different side challenges, it is challenging.
Yeah.
To be everywhere, everything all at once.
Yeah. I do have some insider info looking through my notes from Taylor, who is on our live stream team, that I think knows Val personally. That she's going to be a big competitor. She thinks she's very
About Val.
About
Okay.
Val, knowing that she's really smart. She's really like locked into strategy of Survivor,
Okay.
and she thinks that she'll be good at holding things back, but also sharing things. That was my
Okay.
inside scoop about Val, just from our friends who know her. We have a lot of, John alluded to it earlier. We've been around. We've done things. We're involved in the Survivor LRG community. So we do know a few people this season. So hopefully we'll be able to, maybe use some things we know about them too to give a little bit more info to maybe why they're doing what they're doing this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say one thing about Chris, though, I noticed in the very first challenge is that when they had the option to run around to get, maybe it was in the trivia challenge, when they could run around the lake to get answers, he ran in 5 minutes. He did it in like 2 or 3 times. Like, that man ran, which is crazy.
These lakes, I don't know how they come across on camera, but they're not small, and they are very tiring to run around.
It's not easy to run that far. Also memorize the answers, share them. That was a lot. I was really impressed by his athleticism to do that. That was the only thing I wanted to say about that.
No, absolutely. So those losers, I did get a little behind the scoop view on that I'll share little tidbits. I don't want to say anything, anything too in detail, but I will just say that Griffin's name did come up in this group.
In what way?
Not surprisingly, in reference to how aggressively or passionately, intensely he was playing the ladder scramble challenge.
Yeah.
I did have somebody mention that they kind of noticed that he was, elbowing a little bit for positioning, or just, competing, very intensely. And, the person even mentioned, which I love, is like, I can make a mountain out of a molehill. And so I think that, it's potentially going to be used against him, even if it was small. The minute you give somebody you leave the door ajar to get their foot in, and they can do whatever they want with it. They can blow it way out of proportion and use it against you, and maybe it'll work, maybe it won't.
Yeah.
Because also sometimes if you are going around spreading negativity about somebody, that
It's like, oh, you're the bad energy now.
right,
Camp.
that can like boomerang back onto you. Yeah.
I was like, hit you in the face.
So that's why I love it. Like, everything about Survivor is just
Yeah.
like a give and take of like,
An inch becomes
how
a
will
mile.
how will this affect my game, whether I do it, whether I talk about it. So it'll be interesting to see if that competitiveness kind of from Griffin is gonna end up impacting his game moving forward.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Alrighty, moving into our final challenge. Sorry, I interrupted. Do you want to
No.
say anything else about anybody else in those moments?
Well, like I said, I wasn't saying who particularly
Sure. Yeah.
was saying that, but just in general, they seem to be a great group still. I think it's hard sometimes when you're not exactly sure how you're placing amongst the group as a whole.
Yeah.
But I think everybody, they weren't sure, like, is this our group? Are we done for the night? I think a lot of people thought that there
Something
was
was
still
coming.
going to be more. Yeah, and we didn't tell them. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how much people actually took advantage of this time getting to know
Yeah.
each other versus like
Just
setting
thinking.
up camp versus preparing for what they thought was next. So
I think that's the biggest thing too, is people always assume there's more. They never think that we're just gonna stop. Like, we do have to go to bed eventually, right?
like, we are people.
Yeah, and so they always assume there's more. More people are coming to our camp. There's another challenge, all these things. And because of that, they never take advantage of the time that they're there, because they're like, oh, we have to speculate about what's going to happen next. And they're not actually taking that time to get to know each other, build those relationships. It's like a blessing and the curse of, tribe time.
I heard them speculate that we were going to start challenges at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I'm like, do you think
I
we're
won't
getting
be
John
doing that.
Vittea, or Sam Lechner out of
getting
bed,
Sam Lechner out of bed?
that early out here? Because,
No.
if we start at 6, like, we would have to be here at 5, right?
Yeah.
And so it is kind of funny to hear them, like, speculate. And it's like, no, we have to go to bed. We're not going to be back at 5, but it's
Also, we
fun.
could tell them at 6 a.m. tomorrow and they will have no idea. They don't have watches. They
Right.
don't see time for 5 days. So who knows?
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll get to it here. Last challenge, we brought our 5 remaining contestants, who were Paul, Ali, Jay, Elisa, and Kaylee. Our 5 remaining contestants had to compete in a very classic survival challenge, which was hold on, where they have like a metal bar basically, and they have to pull on 2 metal handles to keep that metal bar in place. If the metal bar slides out from between the metal handles, you're out of the challenge. This challenge is very, very concentrated on focus. Like, you could not be the strongest person and you could still win this challenge as long as you are focusing on the bar in front of you. Your concentration slips, so does the bar. But it also does, require quite a bit of force, like forearm strength.
They're a little bit heavy.
They are kind of heavy. So we saw them doing honestly pretty well right away. Everyone had a different technique as to how to hold the bar, but eventually I think we only had it might have been one person had dropped, maybe none of them had dropped at this point. When John made them all hold their arms out straight to be able to hold it. Cause be like, we're not trying to wait here forever, right? So eventually he was explaining that they had to straighten their arms, and Elisa, being what it seemed like as the rule follower she is, instantly went to straighten her arms before John had even started counting down that they had to, and her bar instantly drops. So, note to future players, when John starts counting down, do it at the last second possible. Very
Right.
similar to Jeff, because someone will mess up during the transition. And Elisa unfortunately did. I think we saw Paul fall shortly after her, Kaylee shortly after that, and we had Jay and Ali fighting for that final spot. I could literally see Jay's arms shaking, but they put up a valiant effort to Ali, who ended up winning the final challenge overall. And we don't know what happened. We cut the feed after that. We don't know what happened once that final challenge was completed. But I will say that those 5 entered a very, very, very nice camp. Tonight they had tarps set up, they had a fire
set up
going,
for them.
a little bit of food.
Oh my goodness.
They're living the good life tonight. But I think the main thing I'm curious about is what's going to happen when eventually it gets leaked that they were the final 5. Maybe, you know, they got this really nice camp. Like, one of them is going to squeal. It's just a matter of who and when. So learning, oh, they were the ones that were all really good at challenges today, and now Ali is the one who won the final challenge. Like, is that going to put a target on his back? Like, is that going to put a target on Jay's back to get second place, you know?
Yeah,
or
and regardless
any of
if
them.
none of them do squeal, right? Like, maybe they try to keep it low key and they try to make it seem like they don't have as much of an advantage of the other teams camp wise. Regardless of that, it still puts a target on their backs of, oh, they were the ones that like made it to the end and did well, and that's why everything is a blessing and a curse in this game.
Yeah, it's like maybe like, and you also didn't know how long the challenges were going to go. You didn't know how many times you were going to get divided
Or what
off.
you were competing for.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
knew nothing.
So like they, you know, they could have been like, oh, I'll throw the next one or something. I don't want to be the last one standing, and then they didn't get a chance. So I think it's really interesting. But by far, last thing we'll talk about before we get the heck out of here, because it's literally pitch black out here, is that during this challenge, Paul pulled a full Christian Hubicki and started telling a story about his experience in the hospitality industry that was not family friendly in a hilarious way. And this is the after show, so I'm going to give you a little recap of the story. Basically told us, you didn't hear it.
No,
oh my
I wasn't
gosh.
here.
Basically told us a story about how he was working at the front desk of his first hotel job. It was his first night working on his own. I think it was a Best Western. And a woman came up to the front desk. She's pressed up against the front desk saying, demanding a room. And when she takes a step back, she's fully naked. And Paul is telling a story. Paul is an eccentric storyteller. He was phenomenal at it. And he's like doing the challenge while he's telling the story, which is hilarious. Because again, this challenge requires a lot of concentration. So he's telling this story about how this woman's fully naked and her boyfriend locked her out of her room, and they had a bunch of boxes and boxes and boxes of drug paraphernalia in their room and all this stuff. It's the craziest story. And he's saying it just with a straight face, no big. They're telling him like, oh, keep your pole straight in the middle of it. He's like, oh, pole? Okay, thank you. Fixes his pole in the middle of the challenge. It was so funny and so crazy at the same time. And I think it's either going to make Paul like the hero, the most lovable person on this season, or instantly people are going to be like, I love him so much, he has to leave immediately. Like it was such, I think, an interesting choice by him to be so instantly lovable. Like it was just, I watched him do that.
Like,
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe some people didn't think it was lovable. I mean, you
Oh,
know what
yeah,
I mean? Like,
no,
I
that's
wasn't
so
there and
true.
I didn't see it, but maybe people were like, ugh, like this guy's making it all about him or something like that. Also, part of me, I really want to know, like, was it true? Like, was this theater?
Could you imagine?
I think he's in the theater. I don't know. I just want to know what his thought process was. Like, was this strategy to try to make other people lose their focus, to drop?
That's so true.
Was it
So
strategy
eccentric.
to be funny and congenial and make people like him? Kind of what was his thought process behind that performance, if you will?
Oh, it was.
And how will that impact his game moving forward? I'm so interested.
That will have a lasting impact. I think people will genuinely be like, they will tell that story to other people later in the game that Paul did that 100%. It was really interesting. Any other comments about our Final Five? We talked a little bit about Elisa earlier and Kaylee. Ali, I think one thing that's really interesting about Ali that John gave me a little tidbit about earlier that I'll share from his casting video was that apparently Ali knows nothing about Survival Challenge, has never watched a day in his life, doesn't watch Survivor anything, found out about the game and was like, I don't know anything about this, but by the time I get casted in July, I will know everything about it. No one will know more than me, and I will be the best person out there. And John was like, I believe you. And like his intensity and passion for like whatever he was doing at that moment was enough to be like, no, this guy has to be on the cast. And then he comes out and basically wins the first day.
That's impressive.
I'm really excited about Ali. I think that he's going to be a huge competitor. I'm just curious to know if he's going to be too big of a competitor too quickly and is going to get clocked.
Sometimes people that like they want it so bad, it doesn't translate the best.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
you know, if he knows everything, then hopefully he knows that he shouldn't show it, and he should just medium show it, and then he can end up winning.
Who knows though? I mean, every player, every season is different. Depends who you're playing with, what the theme is. Like, there's so many things that go into it. There's no right or wrong way to play Survivor, except you probably shouldn't yell at people or be mean to them all the time.
But that's pretty much just also a rule in life.
Yeah. I don't know.
Be a nice person.
We'll see.
You know, easier said than done. We need to remind ourselves as well sometimes, but
yes, absolutely.
be good people.
Alrighty, that was the day. So they, after that, again, went back to their camps. They've been there all night. They'll be there all night. We'll see them in the morning. Again, they're not living with a lot at these camps, so it's going to be a tough first night for some of them, I think. Luckily, no rain in the forecast in Macomb, so good for them, I guess. They missed a huge storm last night, so honestly, thank goodness, because we probably would have had to evacuate them with how bad it was. It was a huge thunderstorm warning here. So good weather tonight. We're looking forward to it. Before we cut out, Will, do you have any questions from the stream that you want us to answer? Anything fun?
Norma was just curious about how hot it was here today.
It was disgusting. Norma, it was gross.
There's a lake behind us. You can't see it anymore. I look like I jumped in it, but it was just sweat. Like profuse sweat. So sticky. Like not just like hot, but like it was like very overcast and very like muggy with humidity.
Yeah. The UV wasn't terrible. It was like 5, and so it wasn't super sunny. It was just, it feels like you're swimming through the air. It's horrible.
Miserable.
So bad, to say the least.
But I don't know. The weather...
It could have been worse, though. We've had worse opening days.
But like it also finds a way to always be bad here, I think.
No matter what it is, we will hate it and complain about it. So
that's what we do.
Yeah, we are.
Any other questions?
Complainers?
Wayne said, hey, y'all. He's the alumni from season 5.
Hi.
Is also thinking that 25 is a weird number for this season.
Interesting.
I think... I can't see on here, but I see on my phone, Anthony replied, it's the year of prime numbers.
Anthony, 25 isn't a prime number.
Isn't he a teacher?
He embarrasses me sometimes. And by sometimes I do mean all the time.
But you know what? He's loyal. Like, if
Is
there's
he?
one I mean, maybe not in the game, but to us, like, if there's one
he's a
person
loyal
that leaves
fan.
a comment every time,
Yeah.
it is Anthony, and for that, I do appreciate
If the after show has 100
Um,
fans, Anthony is one of them.
Yes.
One fan, Anthony is it. No fans, Anthony's dead.
Yes.
Anthony
Which
does
you're
say,
dead to
"Love
me, because
y'all."
why aren't you here, Anthony? But anyway,
Next season.
quick question.
Yes.
I missed the John intro because I was making my way downtown
Yeah.
through all the camps. Did John specifically point
No.
out the 25 of it at all?
Absolutely not.
Okay, interesting. Because when I was taking people, to some of the locations, I did hear people speculating of the numbers of it all, and they pointed out that there was 25, and some
Interesting.
people knew that that's never happened before, and some people were able to point out how many people, it's always 24 except for seasons 1 and 2 and blah blah, and
People are
people
nuts.
are showing their cards about how much they know and don't know, and maybe some people are also holding it back.
Yeah.
But I always find it interesting when people are so open about how much they know.
No, yeah.
And does that really make a difference? I don't know.
I mean,
But
You
it's definitely something that is being talked about and being speculated, but as far as I know, nobody's kind of figured it out yet.
exactly. I think usually, almost every season we have some form of survival challenge specific trivia come into play. Whether it's to get an advantage, whether it's to win a challenge, whether it's to win a reward, whatever, anything. We almost always use it. So it makes sense that, again, they're studying and they're knowing these things. And they can probably assume it about each other. But outwardly saying it, being I know all these things about it, it's just an instant red flag, and not in a red flag you're a bad person way, but you might know more than me, or you know too much. And like we talked about earlier, you can make a mountain out of a molehill. You can take an inch and make it a mile. Perception is reality in this game, and if people think that you're a little mega mind over here, you're just digging yourself a hole.
You can't be too much of one thing. You got to be a jack of all trades in this
For sure.
game. Will is showing us something. Never mind. Will's not showing us anything.
Unsure.
Um,
Any other comments, Will? What should we say?
Joe says hi.
Hi, Joe. We love you.
Says love the recap. And Anthony is trying to explain that the joke was an intentional flub, but I'm not going to show that.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
Enough from the peanut
Sure.
gallery, Anthony. All right, let's
I
go home.
think we're good. We're gonna go to bed. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you watch this eventually someday too, thank you for joining us, whatever day you choose to watch this. We appreciate you all. We are very excited for the rest of the season. We'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully around the same time. Hopefully, gosh, a little bit earlier so we're not sitting in the pitch black. But we'll see you soon. Tomorrow, we are starting at 9 a.m. Central Time, so 10 a.m. EST, if I'm correct in my head math. And we'll probably get the stream started a little bit before that to make sure everything's up and running smooth. So we'll see you soon. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Bye.